Well, hey there! Welcome to my drawing channel here on YouTube. My name's Campbell, and I'm the author of many how to draw art books. Today, I want to talk to you about creating hairstyles on your profile faces. This is something a lot of my students struggle with over at Awesome Art School, and I'm hoping that today's video will help you so much in not only thinking up cool hairstyles to draw on your profile faces, but also exactly how to draw them. So I believe that the challenge to come up with hairstyles is just as great as the challenge of trying to draw them. So let's tackle this one problem at a time, shall we? Okay, in terms of dreaming up hairstyles, this is actually a super easy problem to solve because the world is populated with like billions of people. So all we need to do to dream up hairstyles is to look at pictures. I know, it's a little bit groundbreaking. Now, when I was starting to draw, I didn't like using actual photographs for references because I felt very pressured to make my whimsical faces because I'd much rather draw a whimsical face than a realistic face. So I didn't want to be bothered or have the pressure to be dealing with like a real photograph to inform or influence my drawing. I just wanted to make a really cute whimsical girl in my art journal and like be done, call it a day. But then I struggled with the ideas and the how-tos of getting the profile hairs on. So I like hear you, if you're having this problem, I so get it because I used to have this problem too. But you really do want to use photographs because you can get so much information from a photograph that has nothing to do with capturing likeness, that has nothing to do with drawing realistically, but it's just like it's like a hotbed for ideas that can really help you draw. So let me just show you what I mean. In order to help you, I actually, because I'm like a super nerd and I love creating resources and books, I actually made a 4-page practice guide for you that contains a ton of 12 different hairstyles. And I want to show you how you can use reference photos to help come up with drawing ideas for your profile faces to inform the styles of hair that you're going to be drawing. So let's go over to the drawing table and I will show you how to use these practice sheets to help you not only come up with new hairstyles, but also to help teach you how to draw them when you are doing your profiles. And that could be whimsical or that could be realism. So either way, these worksheets can work for you. So here is the 4-page PDF that I created for you. As you can see, that's a dude, but it could be a chick too. As you can see, every hairstyle is completely and utterly different than the rest. So I hope this inspires you and you use the sheet to literally practice and learn all of the things that you need to know to start creating profile hairstyles or profiles in general. Now in this episode 1, we learned how to draw them. Episode 2, we learned how to shade them. So this episode is really dedicated to just kind of figuring out how to put the hair on our people. So as you know, no matter which method you learn from me to draw profiles, I have 2 books on this and they're both a little bit different. But they're the same in that we start with a circle in both instances. Okay, and then of course we have our eye line, which is where we cut the circle in half. We have this line down here. Okay, and then our nose, we learned all about the angles, right, of the jaw and the nose to chin angle and what buggers those are. So go back and watch episode 1 if you want to learn how to draw these from scratch. So now we're talking about hair, okay, and we have our mouth line here. And the ear always sits between the eye and the mouth line. So for recreating this down here, we have the same exact lines. Okay, and our mouth line and our ear is here. Now the ear is a funny thing because it's always kind of cockeyed. It's like crooked. So here is her hair. All right, so the first thing we need to know or things that we need to remember is that hair always has volume. So it will always go above an outside of this oval. So that's just kind of the thing to keep in mind. And this is such a true forehead line. Like, it's a little bit crazy how much this, no matter what head you're on, you can line up a circle perfectly that lines up with the forehead of a person. So this line is really, really legit true. And then at some point when you start the hairline, it's going to come up above and beyond. So you will, that is 100% going to happen. Even if something is like this, like pulled skin tight, it still goes above that circle just a little bit. So you have to just remember, number one, that it's gonna have volume. Okay, so we're gonna start by looking at these pictures. We need to put in a couple reference lines always to help. Okay, so we have our vertical here and we have our ear that's kind of cockeyed. Okay, and then we know we're gonna have volume, so somewhere around here it's gonna be big. All right, so it's also helpful to get the neck going here before we get started on the hair. So let's find out where the neckline is. It's usually, if this vertical is down the center, it's usually the neck is pretty equidistant on either side. So we can just have a neck here. Look, I'm not even drawing her face. We don't even care about her face in this one. But we can kind of do our little nose bump out. Ooh, my pen is wearing out. Okay, so now where does the hair go? Well, does it gonna start way up here? Well, no, that would be a crazy, crazy bang line. So the front of the hairline usually starts, and this is kind of just like common sense too, from being a human, it kind of starts between this and this somewhere, like kind of in the middle. Okay, so maybe we can do a middle guideline here to get started. And does that make sense with here? Yeah, that's not too shabby. Okay, and then we know it has volume, so already we kind of know what's going on. Now we have this diagonal line that comes from the center and right to the ear, right? And that is roughly where the hairline will go. So we're going to come down here, and again we have the same line. So that can be the hairline there as well. All right, now we know again that hair has volume. We also know that the back of the head kind of does truly come out. That's why we use a circle for the profile, because we have this big bump in the back. Now, I studied biological anthropology as an undergrad at George Washington University. So I studied human evolution. That was my major in school. And what differentiates us from other apes is that we have these big old brains, right? We have a large occipital bone in the back, and that means this truly bumps out. We have our neck, and then we have this big old bump, and that needs to stay. This back, that is our brains, and we don't mess with that. And as you can see, we even have volume that extends out beyond that. Okay, don't forget, hair has what? Volume. Okay, so we're gonna come out always even greater than that big occipital bun. Okay, and then the next thing we need to figure out is just directionality. So this one, I'm looking at a reference. There's no reason that you have to imagine hairstyles when you have a million pictures of human beings thanks to this amazing resource we call the internet. Okay, so you can just start, and you always start at the root. So whenever you draw hair, you start, actually, when you ever draw anything that's growing, you start at the root. So if you're drawing trees, you start at the root. If you're drawing flowers, you start at the root. If you're drawing hair, you start at the root. Okay, you start at the root, and then you start at the root, and then imagine that your pen or pencil is a hairbrush. Would you ever brush your hair backwards? No. Would you ever start at the bottom and brush up? No. Typically, if you want to smooth out your hair, where do you start? You start at the top and you brush all the way out. Think of your pen as being a hairbrush, and you're going to start at the roots and you're going to brush all the way out. And use a piece of trace paper. Use these sheets to draw on to inform where your lines are going. So draw on here first and then come down here and see if you can draw them again. Ooh, okay, here we go. Now we have this one. Where does this one go? This one's going like this, and this one's going like this. Okay, so go back and forth between your reference and your own hair drawing, and you will start to see how this makes sense. Okay. Now what about these short little hairs on her neck? Well, they're just short little hairs on her neck, right? So they would kind of go like this, because they're starting. Come on, camera. Thank you. They're starting at the roots right here, and then they just grow at the back, very short. It's shaved back there, back like this, and I think her neck does more like this. Okay. Same thing on the sides. These are really short. So if you're drawing them where they grow from the root all the way to the end, they're just these short strokes, and that's literally what your pen strokes will be as well. Okay, so imagine your hand is a hairbrush and you're brushing her hair, and as you go, you'll end up drawing these all in. Okay, so there you have the basic shape, and then you can start filling in some individual strands. Now this differs widely depending on what medium you're working with, but it's also a helpful tip to do the outline first. So let's start with this one. Okay, we know it has volume. First, let's get in our guidelines. Okay, we have the one coming down the center, one coming down the center. And if you want to go get this cheat sheet with me and then print it out and come back to the video, we can do some of these together. Okay, we have the eye line is across the middle, right? The ear is always kind of cocked off to the side. We have the mouth line, okay? Now we have that diagonal line, again, can be our hairline. Okay, that's our hair. This is the middle line. And again, look at that. Bang, hair starts right from there. And then what else do we learn? We learn we have volume. See how even though there's our circle, the hair still is always gonna be higher. It's gonna be higher than the circle of her head, even when it's in a ponytail. Okay, so sometimes it's great, actually a lot of times it's great just to get the outline in so you kind of know where your boundaries are. So here's her ear, here's her hairline. Now you have to pay a little attention. The hairline isn't a straight line diagonal, but it does run along this line very closely. So you can see this is kind of like this. But that's okay, you can use this diagonal line as a guideline to help you know where to go. Okay, so I'm just recreating on my paper what I saw up above. And let's finish drawing the outline first. So here's, I see her hairline here at the bottom. And then again, I know I kept the circle there in for you, so you don't have to do all the work yourself. And then you have this goes a bump, and there's a little bump, and then her ponytail is like here. And then drawing the outline, I'm just gonna draw a big pony. Kind of like that. Just to get the outline shape, like put it on like a helmet, and then we can start filling in the individual strands. Now, how do we do that? Again, you pretend that your pen is a hairbrush. You're starting at the scalp, and where would you brush this? Well, it's going to the ponytail, so we're going to stop at the ponytail, but each strand should start at the root and go to the ends, right? And then we go like this. Now, working with different mediums, working with pencil versus paint, I have a lot of tutorials on these on my mixed media channel here on YouTube, and I will link to that playlist. I have a lot of further resources on how to draw hair, but since this was specifically about profiles, I'm not going into different mediums in this episode 3, but I will be coloring a full profile in with Copics in episode 5 and watercolor markers on episode 6. And I've already done with graphite. So if you stay and watch the playlist, you can save this playlist out, and you can refer back to that when you need help using different mediums. But I just want to show you how to draw the shape, identify the volume, the hairline, and how to really get started, and how to use these little reference photos to help you with your drawing. So again, you're going to start with your guidelines. Start with your guidelines. Put in the ear. Oh, that guideline is terrible. Put in the ear for reference, draw your diagonal. Draw your diagonal, boom, there's your hairline. You already know you're gonna have volume. You can already start going above and beyond. Now his is super tight, so there's hardly any volume, but it is still there. Okay, now we can capture this hairline here, right? This is gonna go, it's gonna go behind the diagonal and then in front. So we can come down and go behind this and in front, okay? He's a dude, so he's got some little sideburns action there. Okay, and then we're gonna get out our hairbrush and we're gonna go brush, brush, brushing in the directions that I see them. And this goes back to his little pony back here, right? And then everything else is falling this way. Okay, and again, you start from the root to the tip. Always, always, always. Okay, and then we have the shape for the third one. So don't be intimidated when you're going through these sheets because each one is super different, but the rules stay exactly the same. Look at this one. It's fascinating like to do the shape, but it's all still there. There's no ear, but the hairline is still the same. And this, again, too, your method should be exactly the same regardless of what your hairstyle is. And use the photos as a reference point so you don't need to have the pressure of dreaming up hairstyles from scratch. You should never have to do that. Use a reference photo with a style that you like and then just try to recreate it on your either whimsical or realistic faces while you're drawing. And you will have so much success. I promise. If you download the sheet and draw along with me, please let me know in the comments section, not only if you want this PDF, but also how did it go and did this help you? Because I need to know that so I know down the road if these resources are helpful, I know that I should be making more of these for you. So next week, we are going to be talking about how to draw expressions on our profiles, and I hope you come back and join me. New videos are posted every single Monday for you to learn and enjoy and make you an awesome artist.